What was one of the most mysterious posts found on Reddit? There was a post in our relationships maybe a year ago from a woman who had found some disturbing content on her boyfriend's computer. He had gone out of town and she was looking through his laptop and found out about his extreme BDSM and torture fetish. She was an Asian woman and his fantasies about torture apparently focused on Asian women. She said some other stuff, like about how he would go out of town on hunting trips with old buddies for days at a time. But she had never met any of these friends. There was some other circumstantial potentially disturbing stuff. She deleted the post soon after and I never saw anything about it. But a lot of people were telling her to get out of the house before he got back. Oh shit. I have an ex that had fantasies exactly like this. Used to talk about how he wanted to build a house out in the country with a hidden soundproof basement so he could kidnap women and keep them there to torture and kill. I like to think that it was just a fantasy and he wouldn't actually do it. But he killed lots of people in combat when he was in the army and he was pretty messed up overall. I kind of feel like I should report him just in case he ever does anything. But the only proof I have is a handful of old texts and I don't know if the cops would take them seriously. Your worry about whether or not the cops will take it seriously is not relevant. They need to be the ones to decide what suspicious behavior to act on. If you don't report it, they won't even be able to decide if they should look into it or not. If there's a small chance that you reporting this could save someone from being hurt, you should do it. It's odd to think people with these thoughts would voice them aloud to other humans. It blows my mind that people like David Parker, a toy box killer, could convince others to be accomplices in such evil acts. Maybe he was testing the waters with you. There was a post a few years ago about a guy who had served in the military, had PTSD, and his wife partner would jump out and scare him despite him making it known he did not like it. One day he was in the bathroom and she burst in surprising him and he turned around and punched her in the face. He was scared and didn't know what to do, whether he'd be charged etc., and never posted any follow-ups. Still wondering what happened to that one. I told my roommates when I first moved into a dorm that if they have to wake me, shake the foot off the bed or throw something at my chest. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes, I have hyper-realistic nightmares that wake me up violently. They were cool about it and understanding. But one of them moved out to be replaced by this asshole we'll call Greg. Greg seemed to want to find ways to trigger me. This isn't from psychological trauma. I just have bad nightmares. He didn't care. He'd jump on my chest and scream bloody murder as just a prank, shit like that. One day, I actually had a nightmare that something was chasing me around my room, but the doors were gone. So I had no choice but to run around to avoid it. Greg happens to pull a prank at this time and suddenly, I come to with my two other roommates telling me to wake up and calm down. Greg's has a bloody nose and two swollen eyes. My roommate told me I was wailing on Greg's face and chest for about 5 seconds before they were even able to wake up and see what was happening. Greg requested to move out, but he never told the Raz what happened. I regret that I don't regret it. There was a post on WTF about 5 years ago where someone killed some girl and took pics of her decapitated head with sunglass mods. Took it down because apparently reverse image search showed nothing. It was thought dude killed some girl. Edit. I'm sorry. Also image and glasses. He actually did kill her. Apparently he asked her out several times and she said no, so he invited her to his house and strangled her. He then decapitated her and took pictures of her naked and posted it on a message board. He set fire to his house and put her head in his car and was escaping when he crashed his car into a truck and died. The police found the woman's head in his car, This is the link to the pictures he posted on the message board. I wouldn't recommend clicking NSFL. Link, IMGA webpage. Well yeah, that was it. That shit was fucked, but I guess the person who posted it 5 years ago sent the person who did it. Mods flipped the fuck about it though. Every time I see NSFL or NSFW my brain just challenges me to look. I regret it every time, yet I never learn. You poor girl. What a sick human being. I think it was from relationships. Woman who thought she was being gaslighted by her boyfriend. She described smelling cooked fish, but he would serve chicken for dinner. Eventually commenters convinced her to go to the hospital. She updated with, "It's a brain tumor, I have surgery tomorrow." I still think about that post and I never found out if things worked out for her. I remember that. It legitimately freaked me out. It was really weird things too. Like she would think her boyfriend told her that he was cooking salmon. She would smell salmon cooking. And then she would walk into the kitchen and he would have made lasagna. Or that he would have told her that he was going out that evening. And then she'd come home and he'd be like, "Didn't we agree that we'd do movie night?" or something like that. She thought her boyfriend was playing mind games with her and was super confused. And then the edit was just, "This is scary, but I have a tumor in my brain. I'm having surgery tomorrow." And that was that. No update ever again. Scared me. Actually, I hope she was okay. I thought I read an update that she got a cherry tomato-sized tumor removed and was recovering, though I doubt I could find the updates to check. I hope this is true. I'm not exaggerating. I occasionally still think about her post because it freaked me out and made me sad for her. When I was working in the outback I could smell shit but no one else could. I blew my nose and there was a fly in my snot. I almost vomited, and then realizing there was nothing to be done about it got back to work. On our relationship a few years ago there was a post, if I remember right, a family friend was staying with the married couple. After being diagnosed with cancer and being incredibly down on his luck with prior ailments, the wife started noticing inconsistencies in the friend's stories, and him never wanting company to any of the doctor visits seemed a little odd. She was also questioning how he could appear in relatively good health, while claiming he's receiving aggressive treatments for his health issues. She posted because she was growing suspicious and wanted validation if it was odd, and if so how to approach her husband with it. Fast forward to a few months back, and there's a sword and scale episode about it. Apparently the friend stabbed and killed her, stabbed the husband, then tried to kill himself. He was faking all along, while stealing money from the wife's company. I've searched for the post, but haven't been able to find it. Sword and Scale episode 98. Jonathan Broyhill. Best man who stabbed couple had been faking cancer during investigation into missing finances. Daily Mail online webpage. Reading the first paragraph I thought maybe my sister had posted that. But she and her husband are still very much alive. They had a friend staying with them several years ago who was also claiming to be undergoing chemo for a brain tumor. She called me one day all upset because she had been noticing all kinds of signs that he was lying but didn't want to make any accusations. It was chilling to hear what she had to say because she was right. It didn't add up. I convinced her to talk to her husband and he was shortly thereafter kicked out. She had been correct. Saw a post on AskReddit about a year or two ago about a woman or older teen looking through some old family tapes she had found, and on one of them was her as a child being molested by her dad and filmed by the mother. Everyone in the thread told her to take the tape to the cops and to make sure her parents didn't see her do this. Not sure if we ever got an update on that. There was a guy on AskReddit who claimed that every time he stepped outside, whether the front or back door, his neighbor would honk their horn. He said it would happen every single time without fail, but not when anyone else in his household went out. He also said it was happening for several years. Everyone was suggesting he had a mental illness, which was a likely explanation. But I wish we got an update from that guy. Sounds like the beginnings of gang stalking paranoia, which would explain why he never updated. Had a woman claiming her neighbors, 2 women in their 60s, were honking their horns at 4 a.m. and prank calling her. She called about 20 times reporting this. Officers sat down the street and observed silence while she was calling in car horns. A look in her history showed this happened in 4 other cities that she lived in. Clearly nuts, right? She downloaded an app that reveals blocked numbers. I called the number, and her neighbor picked up. A phone records request revealed they actually were calling her and messing with her every single night. Alright, story time. My friend told me about his neighbor. They lived in a neighborhood where they had big ass front lawns and long driveways. His neighbor was a retired mechanic, and he had a few clunkers parked in his driveway. They didn't run, and he used them to take parts from. Mostly. One of these clunkers was a conversion van. His neighbor started hearing things coming from his front yard. Every time he'd go to the window to look, there would be nothing. Eventually though, he'd start hearing voices, like whispering voices. And every time he'd run to the front window, there'd be nothing and nobody. So this guy called the cops. After a couple times, the cops told him he needed to stop calling them and put up surveillance, because they could find nothing at all. The whispering continued, and this guy legitimately thought he was going nuts. One summer evening, the guy couldn't sleep, so he went out to his back patio to smoke a cigarette. That's when he could hear the whispering coming from the front. He snuck around and peered around the corner just in time to see the doors to his conversion van silently shut. The dude ran back around to the back and went inside and called the police to tell them what he had seen. Cops arrived down the road and got out, and as they approached the van, the doors swung open and a bunch of people ran out in different directions. Turns out the locking mechanism was not working, and some heroin addicts had been using the van to shoot up in. There were little empty baggies and needles inside the van. According to my friend, his neighbor changed the locks and put up surveillance cameras around the house, but he was so relieved that he wasn't losing his mind after all. Uis Theralififta line. I discovered the account about a year ago and was fascinated reading the past comments and posts. It appears to belong to a woman with a degenerative brain disease whose husband left her for another woman and eventually gained custody of their child. The comments eventually turned into her begging full AC to give her daughter back. Turns out she's posting again, so I guess she did her time in jail or whatever happened. What a fucking ride. I recommend looking at her comments from oldest to newest so you can see the clear descent into insanity. To be fair, her comments were nuts from the beginning, but at least the older ones were coherent. Holy shit, this lady is obsessed with Pizzagate and Lyme disease. She needs help big time. This is seriously sad and disturbing. 2 years ago, when she was still coherent, she posted about having psychotic episodes on a Lyme disease subreddit, Huxing and Psychosis, Lyme webpage. The posters told her it was just a side effect of the quack treatment she was taking. If she had gotten real medical help back then, she might have been okay, but all that is left now is madness. Life gone full stop. I am gone full stop. I spent a lot of time on this. I backed out because it was just too much. Someone was stalking her comments. She is arguing politics in Russian. Who the hell is Lacey? Good God, why am I reading this? Lol. Am I the only one who, after reading all that, thinks that her LLMD essentially did this to her by insisting on giving her sketchy alternative medicine that seemed to be inducing frequent and severe psychotic episodes for a disease that she almost certainly didn't have. Her very first post mentions that she tested negative for Lyme disease. It was supposedly congenital, diagnosed entirely on an extremely vague set of symptoms: brain fog, anxiety, depression, fatigue etc. etc. And according to science doesn't even exist. Wikipedia webpage. Who knows if she had some other disease or mental health issue, but the treatments that she was taking for years certainly didn't seem to be helping and were apparently causing her hallucinations and delusions. This, according to her, was a sign they were working despite seeing no improvement in her original symptoms. Whoever was giving her this treatment needs to have her practice closed. There was a thread asking older virgins why they were still virgin. This 40-something-year-old guy answered, and then his last sentence was some joke about suicide. People kept prying and he eventually said something about waiting for his mother to die so he could kill himself guiltlessly. I think he said she had just died and he planned to do it in about 3 months or something. He had this thing all planned out and thought through. He said no one could talk him out of it. And after going through more and more of his post history, he seemed more and more genuine and not at all like a troll. He was very polite about the whole thing, if that makes any sense. I thought about saying anything at all to him, but everyone else who did was politely thanked and dismissed, and I couldn't think of anything original, so I held off on it. I had his comments saved, and I remember checking in on it sometime well after those 3 months, and he hadn't posted anything after that point. I still think about it from time to time. I have been to that low point before. The reason he was polite about it was cause it wasn't an emotional decision. It was a logical one. You don't want to kill yourself because you're depressed and you hate the world. Somehow you just convince yourself that it's the right decision to make based on the state of your life. It's when you get so low that you're just certain there's no getting out of it. So you might as well just be gone. This is such an underrated point. I had a plan and felt completely numb as I got ready to go through with it, but then my brother started freaking out, getting bad vibes from me and wouldn't leave me alone. He even started calling our mom and saying I wasn't okay so she wouldn't leave me alone, and though it was annoying it didn't change any plans I had for myself. But then I heard the fear in my brother's voice as he pounded on my door, and it was enough to break the numb feeling, and that was the absolute most miserable I've ever felt in my entire life. But I didn't want to die then. I just wanted to stop feeling the way I did. I wanted my family to stop suffering. If I had stayed in that numb logical headspace I'd be dead. It's tough to turn the corner from I want to die to I don't want to die. I just don't want to be alive like this either. It's honestly hard to turn that corner in the other direction too. Very true. That moment didn't just turn everything around for me. I was put into a hospital and started seeing my doctors again. Even now, 6 months later, with my life heading in a very good direction, it's an almost daily struggle. Some days I can't say I want alive, but I can say I don't want to die, and that's enough. Baby steps. Quick edit. Another thing I think is really important is realizing how common this is. After I got out of the hospital, I was very open with the people in my life about what was going on and was shocked by the amount of people, specifically the well-adjusted adults, who've had similar experiences. You don't have to talk about things like this if you aren't comfortable, but for me it was really important, helpful to see you can get past these things, and being open even helped a friend of a friend seek the help he needed. There's absolutely no shame in your emotions or experiences. That's pretty wicked, as when someone who considers committing suicide actually shares his plans with others, it is usually because he seeks help. even if only subconsciously. There was a really creepy post from a guy who found a bunch of Wi-Fi signals from a hole in the ground in Hawaii and linking the owner to a strange eBay store that sells broken hard drives with strangely happy customers. Trying my best to find it. Edit. Found the post. Why would there be 30-something Wi-Fi networks Reddit web page? The user elsewhere posts an img link and some descriptions. This sounds strangely familiar to another AskReddit post I read months and months ago. It was about weirdest places you've ever stumbled on. I believe it was someone who found a concrete bunker in the woods that had lots and lots of screens, internet connections, and CP. Wish I had the link. Sounds very familiar. Late to the party, but there was a girl telling a story about how she was 6 months or so out from marrying her fiance. Nothing seemed to be wrong with their relationship, and they absolutely loved each other. One day he went to go get milk, but never came back. He even bought the milk too because they saw the charge, but nobody knows what happened to him. I think this happened a very short while too. Edit. Found it, but I think she deleted the comment, since it's not in the original thread anymore. Here's what she posted in. Serious? Dear Reddit, has anyone you've known simply disappeared? What's the story? Have you found closure? AskReddit webpage. My fiancé disappeared. We were both 27 and have been a couple since the age of 16. Friends even before that. A little bit over 2 years ago we started a sort of road trip all over the countries with our own self-made tiny house on wheels. We had the most fun ever just traveling with the two of us. We did this for all this time, and 7 months ago while lying in our bed and talking he just asked me if I wanted to marry him. I obviously said yes. Things just got even better from there. 1 week after that he went to the store in the city we were currently living in while I had already started cooking. He never came back. He made it to the store and bought the stuff we needed, but he never came back. No one has heard of him since. Not even his mum, who he was Skyping with every evening as long as we had connection available. I've lost everything. He was my boyfriend, fiance, best friend, and also only real friend because it was only us two for the last years. I've given up on pretty much everything and have gotten realistic or full health problems. I've also lost close 25 kilograms and am now extremely underweight. All of that in the last 6 months. I just want to know something. Anything. There was a guy who showed up in AskReddit asking how his newborn could have absolutely none of his trace in blood. A whole list of things were proposed, including that his wife was a chimera, not the mythological beast. Of course, eventually, someone started the obvious: the kid wasn't his. He said it was impossible, and after a few hours said he was going to get a paternity test done just to show us. The next day he posted that it was done, and when he had the results in a few days he would post a picture to prove us wrong. 2 days later, the post and account were deleted. If true, guessing the test went badly. Some guy found a coffin in his driveway. I came home to this in my driveway. I don't want to touch it. WTF webpage. Inside it were a key and a piece of paper with geographical coordinates on it. I went there and took pictures. A couple posts I wonder about. One with the guy whose wife was pregnant but he got fixed many years ago, and another one with a kid who found a spy camera in his foster parents' bathroom. I don't know about that thread, but vasectomy isn't always 100%. Sometimes it was done improperly, and sometimes the body actually heals in a way that it reverses the vasectomy. The chances of a pregnancy after a woman getting her tubes tied are like 1/200, and then I think vasectomies have a failure rate of like 1.1000. It was a legal advice thread, and he kept jumping to her cheating, and everyone was telling him to get tested for the reasons you explained. My parents were close friends with a couple who had this happen. She got pregnant 12 years after he had a vasectomy. She swore she didn't cheat. He left her anyways. They had the baby DNA tested after it was born. Yup, it was his. No, she didn't get back together with him. Oof, that's gotta hurt knowing you were so wrong about something so monumental. The spy camera one was a troll. It was debunked a while back. The camera was still in its packaging at some store, which you can see. Instead of calling the FBI like everyone and even an actual fucking cop told him to, he called CPS exactly as they told him to not bother doing. A couple years ago there was a girl on RA said been narcissists whose parents were part of a deeply Christian faith, and had arranged for her to marry a guy her age. She couldn't go to school. She couldn't have a job. Her parents would lock her out of the house and she was basically forced to live in a small backyard cabin with her soon-to-be husband. She had to hide the fact that she was posting because if her future husband found out her parents would become violent. She was scared they would kill her. The parents gave the underage guy alcohol, and he would sexually assault the poster. But she couldn't do anything about it because the state she lived in would return runaways, and CPS had been around but never did anything. One day she made a post that her husband saw her post. She was scared he would ask questions. Never posted again after that. I just want her to know that if she's still out there, we're still counting down to her 18th birthday. I hope you get free from those people. If I remember correctly, the Ashad took over her account and left creepy replies on one of the posts sent PMS. The account was banned from the subreddit. If the entire thing was true, I hope she's able to escape. I had taken a couple days break from the subreddit because it was messing with my head. I came back and found the sticky post about it. Was truly horrified. Is it the one where she said her parents were fairly wealthy and respected and her dad bragged about deliberately not giving pain meds to non-white patients? I think the account was found to be a fake. The person who won a 100 mil plus jackpot was trying to escape family and friends who were after his money. Where are you now, friend? Oh yeah, I remember that thread. Nightmare Expo did a vid on that on YT. Apparently, his mother tried to poison him, but didn't kill him. Edit. It was Rainbot who made it, but me was featured. I've always thought one of the best ways to go about hiding from the initial wave of money seekers is to just go on a year-long Euro trip or something. Sure, they can camp outside your house that whole time if they want to, but it won't do them any good. Eventually, people will just give up till you resurface again. I know it's late, but this guy's profile asking for help. Fugitajikan001. You Fugitajikan001. Reddit webpage. Looks like he was a slave somewhere in Thailand and was asking for help. No update on that account either. There was some reply listing numbers and address of Amnesty International though. I hope that guy is safe. That's the name of what appears to be a manufacturing company based out of Thailand. Not out of the realm of possibility that slave labor was going on. A young girl about 19, if I remember, posted on relationships about her father. He had a shed that he banned all members of the family from entering. One day she did. He had his computer in there. If I remember correctly, there were photos on the computer which showed animals that had been tortured and dismembered. The photos had clearly been taken in the shed. She said her dad was the perfect conservative dad. He seemed to realize that she had used his computer and things were tense in the house. She deleted the post within a few hours. Link, F19. Saw photos of dead dissected animals and hair in my dad's early 50s computer relationships webpage. Damn. That's effing crazy. Which sub do people post these things in? Edit. A word. It's especially crazy considering that locking a computer in a shed is perhaps the most onerous and stupid way to secure an on-internet connected computer. How about a password? The post is creepy alone, but the fact the op never commented or made a post since is rather alarming. Not a single post, rather a series of posts. A while ago someone by the name 9 Mother 9 Horse 9 Eyes posted very well written snippets of text in the comments of random Reddit posts. Those snippets, when pieced together, formed an incredibly well written story, all told through comments. A subreddit is now dedicated to it. www.reddit.com/r/9m9h99. Albeit professionally written, nobody knows the identity of the author, or why he chose to tell such a well-written story through seemingly random Reddit posts. There was one about a guy who went with his girlfriend to visit her parents, and in the middle of the night she got up and he thought he heard sex noises coming from the next room, leading him to believe his girlfriend has a sexual relationship with her father, but he never posted an update after he said he was going to confront her about it. Was it this guy? Reddit webpage. The posts are deleted now. But 2 years later he references his incestuous ex-girlfriend. Edit. Found the original post, archive webpage. If it is the same guy, yeah, it was the dad. He commented on a post after in an attempt to win some headphones that said he only posts on Reddit to complain about his incestual ex-GF or to win headphones. This reminds me of a guy who was going through I think his wife's parents' stuff in the attic and found pictures of his wife with her parents and determined that they were engaged in a sexual relationship with her. And then he ended up joining them, and he said it was really awkward when the dad just got up and was like, alright, let's go into the other room, and his wife seemed uncomfortable at first, but then the two parents sort of got her going and she was into it. And then at the end he was like, so I guess this is what we're doing now or something. Pretty fucked up but kind of interesting. That was an old thread though. Probably read it on my first or second account. There was a teenage girl who posted in her relationships a long time ago for help dealing with her mom. The girl was extremely sick and the mom was crazy and thought that the cure for every disease was just eating more vegetables and didn't believe in doctors. Everyone was telling this poor girl to go to the emergency room ASAP because of the symptoms she listed. I hope she's okay. Anything you worthless. 319 posts. He seems like he's got some untreated mental disorder. He talked about shooting his dick off, cooking it, and eating it to please God or something, and he actually showed picture proof that he shot off his dick. He constantly would post all these weird questions about killing himself for God or something until his post history ends with him saying how he was traveling across the country because he found someone who was willing to murder him. But he was headed back home because the guy was going to eat him after he died and he didn't want that. Also, he'd occasionally post cute pictures of his pets. I know I'm gonna regret this, but someone has to do it. Anyone has a link to the shot off dick pic? It has been removed. Was it real? There was one with a 16 or 17-year-old kid who just found out he apparently had a letter tattooed on his back that he never knew about. He had gone swimming with his friends and they commented on it. Never read an update and can't find the post. I have been wondering about him since. Edit. Unutel found the link. I, 14M, have scars on my back. It literally says HK as if someone cut me. My family is acting really awkward about it. Relationships webpage. It's amazing what people will do when drunk or high. My husband woke up after a night off partying when he was maybe 17 and found someone pierced his dick. No recollection or any idea of who did it. He took it out right away and years later he still has a piercing hole colon. There was a kid who took his car to the mechanic for routine work or something and the mechanic found a GPS tracker attached to his car. Turns out the FBI was tracking this kid. He found out when the FBI showed up to his house when he tried to sell the device on Craigslist. There were news articles on it and everything. Edit. Link to article. Redirect notice web page. Edit to. This was a quick comment I threw in. But to add to it, the kid posted the GPS tracker to Reddit asking if anyone knew what it was. Someone who worked at a place that manufactured the devices commented that it was a specific model GPS tracker that only law enforcement use. That's when shit hit the fan and things took off. I believe OP started connecting the dots and then the feds showed up out of nowhere trying to intimidate him. Should have led the FBI on a wild goose chase all over the country filming the whole thing. Why is he parked on the Golden Gate Bridge? People get a move on. There was a guy who posted about finding a weird hidden chamber behind a sealed manhole inside a motorway bridge as a teenager. Inside was a chair facing a wall, with a picture of a naked woman with the eyes cut out and a blood-soaked condom. OP delivered and went back years later, and took photos. They're fucking terrifying. Here is the link. The bridge. Let's not meet webpage. Edit. Link doesn't seem to be working for some, so here it is in full. Reddit webpage. I will definitely regret this, but tagging for daytime. Edit. Not too bad, but glad I left it for today. IDK, it's not that bad. Maybe there's some implications, but I chalked it up to a homeless den. Yeah, a homeless person with some crippling but not dangerous mental problems. Kind of sad if you think about it. This is up the road from where I grew up. My dad drives under that bridge every day on his way to work. Properly fucked me up when I realized where it was. There was a post about a guy who sold his house and secretly lived at the bottom of the garden afterwards, but I can't find it anymore. There was one where a lady was cleaning her house and found a tooth and somebody jokingly said, "Somebody is living in your crawl space." But then a dentist looked at the tooth and revealed it was a child's tooth. The lady concluded there was certainly no child living in her attic. She couldn't shake the feeling that somebody was in her place though. So she goes in the attic and she says there's some things up there and calls the cops. Next day she updates that there was indeed a dude chilling in her attic, looking at porn, peeping on her shower, stealing her underwear, and collect urine and semen in jars. Turned out to be the local church pastor. It was insane to read that as it played out in real time. Found it. What the hell? What the hell? IMGA webpage. Following some updates and comment threads on IMGA, the 70-something-year-old pastor that visited her attic periodically was institutionalized. His wife left him. The lady whose house it was has since found love with someone she got talking to on IMGA. Not too bad of an ending, but Jesus. Lol, not bad at all. Feels like one of those movies that reads off what happens to the characters later. Update guys. I am actually getting sent unsolicited dick pics while this is happening. Jesus. Yup, Reddit confirmed. It's by far not the most mysterious on Reddit, but certainly in our little community over our Argentina. Basically Eula Mantita made a post stating he wanted to visit Villa 31, an infamous slum over here, talk with the people living there, walk around, etc. Everyone either advised against it, told him to find an insider as a guide, or joked about his death. That was his last post 3 years ago. never to be heard from again. We're pretty sure he's dead, but no one knows anything for sure. Guy thinks his mother poisoned him with cyanide. My mother has poisoned me. My chest webpage. Edit. Link fix. I lost the screenshot, but it was in our relationships. It was a self-described dwarf who said his tall girlfriend was abusing him. He needed advice on how to if he should leave. The next day the post was gone. I haven't found a follow-up and I'm really concerned for him. The description sounds like it was a troll post or something, but who knows? Reddit is a crazy place filled with truth and deceit. There was a post on this recently from an actual person with achondroplasia. Apparently dwarf is cool. Midget, however, will get you kneecapped. Edit. Managed to find it. What's the appropriate term for a midget? No stupid questions webpage. This comment doesn't make much sense now. It was in response to this one. What was one of the most mysterious posts found on Reddit? AskReddit webpage. I remember this one post on our relationships in which a woman seemingly caught her nephew hiding some recording device at the bathroom she and her daughter used. The nephew was 18 and she had a young daughter, around 10 I remember she did one update where she talked to her husband and he wanted to involve the police and she said she would probably do that, and would later update. It's been maybe a year now, but couldn't find an update. Edit. I can't grammar on my phone. Sorry. The nephew was hopefully arrested and the police advised the mother not to post any more details on Reddit. That's what I think 90% of these never gave an update situations are. There's tons in this thread. Police, lawyers, whatever get involved and tell them to stop posting it on Reddit, for obvious reasons. Not so much a mystery as it's clear what happened, but we never got closure on it. The you flip and flop Datura post in our drugs. Those of you who don't know, Datura is an extremely potent drug, or poison, that's classified as a hallucinogenic deliriant. Unlike psychedelics, they give true hallucinations that are not discernible from reality, like you will see your friend come in the room, have a long conversation only to have them disappear into smoke. It's also a very confusing and disorienting drug that obliterates short-term memory and lasts a long time. Even in our drugs, a community where methamphetamine and crack cocaine abuse is openly talked about, the consensus from everyone was, don't do it dude. This is a horrible idea. Here's the original post. Finally got my hands on some Datura. How much should I take? Drugs webpage. The OP decided despite everyone saying dude, don't do it, to go ahead with it anyway. Not too long after, in that thread you can see him post, google.com how normal a GameStop now. Then the next and last thing he posts is in our gaming where he says, please these big dog are fighting are okay. Then nothing else. No one knows if he died of overdose. Not unlikely if what he said he took was true. He took a heroic dose, was a troll, or just suffered though that, learned a lesson and quit drugs forever. But there was nothing else posted by that account ever again. It was a brand new account, so if it was real and he did actually take them, most likely he either forgot he made the account, since those have an effect on short-term memory, or he just didn't bother logging on the account to post an update. All very possible. But making a throwaway for something like an our drugs post isn't a huge red flag. Many people don't want their main account tied to a sub dedicated to drugs. Maybe he forgot the username. But the Google how feel normal is still a known meme in our drugs even a year later. The thread was hugely popular. If this guy had forgot his login, why not make a new similar throwaway explaining he forgot the old password? It was quite popular on the sub and surely someone who went through that experience would want to share it. yet no one came forward later saying it was them. Redditor is also very toxic. Not only did he take a good amount of seeds, he smoked the leaf too. Redditor is dangerous because the alkaloids in it can vary widely. Some people can get effects from 5 seeds. Others end up in the hospital from as few as 10 seeds. I don't know the effects of smoking the leaf, but I've read reports of people making a tea with as few as 3 leaves and having strong effects. This guy downed 20 and smoked it too. Extremely dangerous, as the drug also doesn't have an obvious "I'm feeling it now" point. There's stories of people taking it and thinking it was bunk to only come out a week later and have everyone explain they have been acting psychotic for the last few days. Guy also says he was alone. So if things went south, which if you believe this is real, it obviously did, there was no one there to call emergency services. And seeing as he was trying to Google search in a reply to a thread, it's doubtful he was capable of calling himself. Unfortunately, if this was real, I think the guy died. However, it's all possible this was a troll too, which I hope it was. Either way, it's an interesting read. By lasts a long time I thought like 3-4 hours, but fucking hell, a week. I guess that shows I know nothing about drugs. Thank you for the detailed write-up. If this guy had forgot his login, why not make a new similar throwaway explaining he forgot the old password, because he probably forgot he made the account, period. It's possible he even forgot he took the drug. I will never understand why people wanna do these types of drugs. The kind where literally nothing about it sounds fun at all and everything sounds terrifying af. They read reports of people who had spiritual experiences and being naive, thinking that seeing real people or reading books that don't exist seems interesting. Also, there is a spiritual element that they seem to think exists with these drugs. For example, he remarks how the leaves look magical, then conveniently ignore the hundreds of horror stories for the few that actually feel there was something to it. They believe they can handle it, and in this guy's case jump way too deep into something without really understanding what they are getting into. As a teen, it piqued my interest because the stories told, that went well, seemed very intriguing, and there was that reckless teenage desire to test the limits of everything. I also assume this guy was inexperienced with drugs, hallucinogenic drugs especially, and even though he probably had heard of bad trips, not experiencing them, he had no real grasp on the true horror it is when you lose your mind and have a negative experience. It's easy to ignore the negatives when all you've experienced is positive and have no real understanding of how truly bad things can get. Someone's reply on the effects: the Mayo Datura made some guy fuck a shadow ghost or some shit. The scientists watching him in his dark room said he was fucking nothing but thin air. I think he still nutted. There was a guy who wanted to try heroin. He was convinced he could give it up on demand. Everyone else was telling him not to, and he did it anyway. The next 3 years of his posts, you see he's decent into addiction and cries for help to get out. I can't remember the username, but it was sad to see. The user Yuye Video Games created a thread on our gaming and then spammed it with variations of the phrase "Steamwork goes Ubisoft DRM bye bye." He wrote 4,000 comments on that thread, that are all different in an unpredictable pattern, so it's unlikely that a bot did it. He also sometimes posted links to creepy weird images, and even a picture of a piece of paper filled with this exact phrase. People believe he went insane, but we don't really know what happened. Edit. Here it is. Ubisoft goes Steamworks bye bye, always on DRM. Gaming webpage. Sadly, the comments are deleted since he got banned. That is so bizarrely weird that I couldn't help but laugh as I read the increasingly nonsensical responses. And then my dog stepped on a squeaky toy and I screamed. Don't do spooky threads after dark, kids. I just walked home in 99% pitch black darkness from work and am sitting in my room, by myself, with my one little light bulb on my ceiling fan that is on. If that light goes out, someone wipe my hard drives, cause I am dead. But also, that's why I'm not clicking on anything and just reading in this thread. I only ever see creepy threads after dark. I never check Reddit on my lunch break and see anything spooky. Word salads like that are definitely a sign of schizophrenia. A homeless woman near where I live has written these similar sayings all over her car and on signs, in very small print, but with more of children government aliens theme. Sad. Oh, I was thinking about posting this one. It's the most memorable creepy Reddit post emo. Edit. Here's a link to the original post. Just got Oblivion for PC. What are your favorite mods? Gaming web page. I opened the page and saw a usual discussion of long thread. This is probably a wrong link. I thought. I read it. Anyway. I thought it was funny. Someone trashing Oblivion. I kept reading, then I saw the descent of madness. I don't think anything's left of the person who originally made that post. Yeah, about 10 seconds of scrolling was enough to make me close that page. No thank you. Looking at the time, he makes his first post at midnight Eastern 9 PM Pacific. Maybe the dude took an Ambien or two and went into a semi-awake state, mindlessly posting that phrase over and over until he woke up. He wakes up eventually, but he's already banned. The weird part is that he's having a normal conversation right before someone asks for good Oblivion mods, and he replies with a suggestion to uninstall accompanied by a gripe about the game, before actually giving what seems to be a useful suggestion for a mod. That's all pretty typical for an internet exchange about video games. Somebody calls him out on it, and he seems to snap. Maybe he was embarrassed and decided to lash out. I don't know. Maybe he realized it was unsettling to people and decided to spend an afternoon messing with the subreddit. Holy fuck, I'm crying with laughter right now but at the same time deeply creeped out. This is some Stephen King shit. I spent way too long scrolling through that one day. The pics are weird and have nothing to do with anything. Gaming. The weird repeat comment. Each other. If you expand replies, some of them are still there and it just is odd, I guess. I could have swore there was something subreddit too, but maybe I'm confusing that with something else. Either way though, the thread always gives me an uncomfortable feeling and I can't really put my finger on why. I clicked on the link below and while scrolling through the comments that were left I got a chill up my spine and an uneasy feeling. It is a very strange thing indeed. He wrote 4,000 comments on that thread, that are all different in an unpredictable pattern, so it's unlikely that a bot did it. Could be a test of a randomizer function for a bot. Give it a phrase and see what it can spit out and still be readable. Obviously it failed. Or could be a guy with mental issues. 2 years ago a woman posted about how her husband had started knowing things that happened in the house, like someone dropping by, but never entering the house. When he wasn't there, she mentioned he might be monitoring her, and seemed pretty frightened. Also mentioned that he was in it and was probably on Reddit. After getting a ton of advice, she never posted again. Original story. Reverend web page. Original post. Reddit web page. There was a kind of similar but not real story in RRBI recently. Woman heard recordings of her conversations being played through the headphones of her child's iPad, or similar technology. She'd recently got divorced from her husband. Her husband who works for the FBI. One karma for anyone who guesses who it was that planted the listening device. Edit. Link to the update. Audio being recorded on my daughter's Kindle Fire post update. RBI webpage. Thanks you Chrissy T. It's super weird going back and finding your comments in a 2-year-old thread. I'm surprised no one has brought up the guy who was in an accident and lived a whole life with a wife and child while he was unconscious for a few minutes post-accident. That one was pretty messed up. I think he snapped out of it by staring at a lamp in the corner of his fake family's house. Updates info. Violently blew a fuse in my extension cord. Took it apart to see the damage and found this. RBI webpage. Someone posted that their extension cord blew a fuse, and they found some odd device. Turns out there was a SIM card in there, and after he posted he was going to put it in a phone. He never posted again. To me that looked like a throwaway account if anything. He was experienced enough to know of what is this thing and had no post history. The guy who is posting all over Reddit that he spread some chemical in Russia that's going to make a ton of people sick in 2 weeks or so. Can't find the link to the posts. Edit. Looked it up. Guy was banned on Reddit. Edit 2. Rip inbox. I know what everyone means now. Edit 3. I submitted a tip to the FBI with all of the info provided by you guys along with everything else I could gather. Hopefully it ends up being only a threat. I mod our World Cup and we got the message from that guy. I reported him to Reddit admins and I'm guessing others did as well. Freaky stuff. Better safe than sorry. Did he have any evidence or sound like he might actually do it? Or do you think he was just a crazy weirdo? I'm trying to find the post of it. They were all deleted but someone screenshotted it and posted it to our sub. I removed it commenting we took care of it as much as we could but fuck I comment too much to find that comment RN lol. I'll update if I do. But he just described basic plans. Enough to make you think I better report this but the plans were just that. Pretty basic. Like if a troll wanted to then it looked like something they'd come up with. Edit. I found one that wasn't deleted. Not sure if direct links are allowed so here's a screenshot. IMGA webpage. Interesting that his name is the sum of all fears. A Tom Clancy novel film and the plot of Rainbow Six. A Tom Clancy novel involves a biological agent released at an Olympic Games. Hopefully a sign that he's a LARPer. I guess we'll see, but the fact that he misspells Cyberneti reassures me. Anyway, threatening the Russian state on a popular online platform doesn't seem like a very healthy pastime. Not a post, but a reply here in our AskReddit a couple years back. The original question was directed at campers and the like, inquiring about what strange creepy unexplained things they had found in the wilderness. The reply detailed an experience that their brother had while orienteering, finding a crater in the middle of uncharted forest with a 1940s style ambulance in the center of it. The gurney was still in there but bent, and there were brown smears all over the walls. OP said that their brother could probably find it again, but flat out refused to. Something about this always haunted me, and I was hoping that there would be an update when I dug through my saved posts to find this again but it turns out the account hasn't posted in 2 years. Original comment. Here. Serious. Campers, backpackers and park rangers of Reddit. What is the weirdest or creepiest thing you have found while in the woods? AskReddit webpage, if anyone's interested. This one seems very interesting, but we have nothing but anecdotal hearsay. Tons of old vehicles in random forest areas. It's not uncommon at all. 2 good ones, but I can't fucking find the first one. The first one is a guy who started a thread asking how he could get a large amount of money like right now. and everyone replying was not taking it too seriously, until OP posted a picture of some shady guys standing in a parking lot and staring at this direction, which seemed to imply he was probably in a serious debt with some not really good people. He never replied the thread. The other one, Reddit webpage, was when a guy found what seemed to be a GPS tracker in his car. At first everyone was talking about if he rented the car from somewhere shady, maybe it was someone the government was tracking, until the guy realized that the device would explain his extremely jealous girlfriend always seeming to know where he was, like he would be somewhere and she would just text him asking what he was doing in that place. One of his last posts he said he was going to confront her when he got home. Since she wasn't replying any of his texts, he didn't post anything since then. Fuck, I will pay so much imaginary money for a link to the first story. I reverse image searches that pic he posted and all that came up was this guy's Bandcamp page. Bandcamp web page. Whoever's pages it uploaded a bunch of creepy, dark music the very last day of January 2016, which is pretty creepy in relation to the Reddit post. Mystery indeed. He posted the background story later down the thread, said it was about someone's music website. Was involved in a fight where an 18-year-old kid was killed. I was on drugs and had a bad temper. I was always protective of my friends, especially John. John was in a band and was taking off. He had a Facebook page, so he deactivated it. He made a new one. One of his friends that made a new one got real mad that he deleted the old page and thought he didn't want anything to do with her or his old friends because of the new fame and band. John tried to explain that to her. That wasn't the case when he tried to. I peered over John's shoulder, read their texts and got heated. I started trash talking the girl. She got her boyfriend's friends to meet me and my friends out in the desert for a brawl. One of the guys there was with the gang member guy's group and pulled out a gun to shoot me and my friends. One of my friends grabbed the gun from him and ended up shooting the guy and killing him, the dude that pulled out the gun in the first place. Then after the fight I violated my probation. The cops were already after me for my drug use. They found out I was involved in the fight and the shooting of the guy and they added the battery charge. I wasn't charged with murder, but was involved in the fight, which is why they added assault and battery charge, plus the probation violation. But I continued with drug use and violated my probation by leaving the state. Now I'm sobered up. I just turned 23 and I'm in a real bad place with some people from the past. From one of his comments. Holy shit. It was funny at first, and then the pic just makes it so creepy. Hope the OP managed to run away and living in Jamaica right now or something. I remember a post similar to your last paragraph when either a guy took his car to a repair shop or this guy's friend found some sort of GPS tracker in the wheel well of his car, took pictures of it, and put those pictures on Reddit to find out what it was. He eventually found out that it was property of the FBI and they wanted it back. I believe they came to some solution. The first one was posted in our Sad Boys or something similar. That was the only post he ever made in the subreddit. Has nothing to do with what OP needed. Edit. Fucking found it scary ASF. Check the comments and shit. Need $700,000. Sad Boys webpage. A post where a woman was recording her sleep and caught another voice in the recording. It legitimately freaked me out listening to it. Experience using sleep as Android app. Ghosts webpage. So when I was little I stopped sleeping and told my dad I heard voices. I was put back to get in. This repeated for about 2 weeks before my mom told my dad to stay with us. Late that night my dad was sleeping and I woke him up saying listen. And sure enough there was voices saying something like just look at them sleeping. Freaked my dad the fuck out and he began tearing the room apart. He took every electric item out and sat up with them. At around the same time the next night he heard it and we determined that my old fireman toy bank that talked about saving the day when you gave it coins somehow was picking up a baby monitor when it was within 2 feet of our radio. Holy fuck. If I heard that phrase I would have moved my family out of state. A couple of months ago there was a post from a Russian lady who was sharing text messages she received from a guy while she was in a movie. He got really angry that she didn't reply, not knowing she was in a movie. The guy worked for the company she worked for and had been hoping to ask her out. I wasn't a member of Reddit then, but I downloaded the app after my friend, who is on Reddit, showed me the post claiming the guy might be my boyfriend. He was. The Russian lady's post made the front page and she replied hundreds of times to people. She gave out enough information that I could see it was my boyfriend who contacted her. I confronted him and he confessed. We broke up shortly thereafter. The Russian lady's account doesn't seem to be active anymore. I don't wanna mention her name for her privacy. I don't blame her because she didn't do anything. On the plus side, the entire event brought me to Reddit and I've enjoyed my experience here. Edit. By in a movie I meant she said she was in a movie theater watching a movie. She wasn't an actress. Glad you got rid of the baggage and welcome to this fun time suck of a website. Wasn't there one about a creepy hotel with secret doors in Louisiana that led to secret rooms? That was supposedly linked to politicans or something, but no one could find the real story. I remember someone got a room at a hotel with strange artwork and what was clearly a two-way mirror in it. Edit. Zaza Insider's question. What's up with room 322? Houston. Reddit webpage. Somebody posted that Zaza later wrote about the room being some intentionally themed thing. They stated may have been an elaborate viral marketing scheme. Zaza Insider's question. What's up with room 322? Houston. Reddit webpage. Hotel review on Google. I don't mind you guys watching us fuck and sleep, but for the love of God change that creepy thing. So before I got sober 2 years ago I asked to be on a subreddit called Dark Sources. It was a sub for buying research chemicals. Basically analogs of drugs including spice bath salts, opioids, benzodiazepine, MAR etc. Well, one guy won a giveaway for 10 grams of etizolum powder. This is an analog of Xanax. And he posted saying what he was given was fake and he was just dipping his finger into the baggie and licking unknown amounts. He made multiple posts with each one being more and more incoherent until eventually he stopped replying and never made any more posts. All of us were pretty sure he overdosed as he was pretty active on the sub at the time. Edit. For clarity, a standard dose of Xanax is a 2 mg pill known as a bar. 500 bars would equal 1 gram. Guy was just eating roughly 98% pure chemical in unknown quantities. Are solving A858 dart. The actual subreddit with the code is now private, but it was a subreddit on which for years, cryptic encoded messages would appear on a regular basis. The above community was dedicated to solving it. Eventually the code subreddit did an AMA, in which the answers were also encoded a bit more simply. Took a few hours for editors to crack the AMA answer code. I don't know whether the ultimate code itself was ever cracked, but I do know it ended. I'm one of the moderators there. Some of the posts were cracked. We found the encryption they used and we guessed at the key until something hit. We used post title, username, and some other random stuff. At one point a user found the actual person behind the account. I don't remember if this is before or after the project ended. It turned out it was something a client of his asked him to do and most of the keys used were completely random. which means there's no easy way to decrypt them. The posts we did decrypt had no real meaning. Snippets from poems and the like. I don't remember at what point we stopped updating it, but the wiki has a list of interesting decrypted posts. Reddit, the front page of the internet web page. It turned out it was something a client of his asked him to do. Did you ever find out what the purpose of that was? No. He didn't want to answer and we didn't really push it. I think he said it was a West Coast company that was paying his business to run the subreddit, but he didn't want to talk much more about the project or client for privacy reasons. He did offer us a beer if we were ever in town. Seemed like a cool guy. Guy who found a camera roll inside a condom hidden inside a pubic toilet. There was a Rolegal Advis post where a guy's 3-year-old was subpoenaed to testify in a case, and even after calling the DA's office, they refused to rescind it and demanded he came in to testify. It was obviously a legal error, and we were all hoping for the judge to rip that a new one when this little kid showed up. We never got an update to that. I think most of the really interesting stuff on Olegal Advis never gets updates because the advice they get is get a lawyer, and once they do that the first thing their new lawyer probably tells them is stop posting about this online. Still waiting for the update on the neighbors who painted someone else's house while on vacation. Edit. Link. My neighbors didn't like the color of my house so they had it painted a different color while I was out of town. Legal Advis webpage. Damn. I was hoping this chain would have an update to this that I missed. 3-year-old. 3-month-old. My almost 3-month-old daughter has been subpoenaed to testify in a criminal case. Legal Advis webpage. Hey, at least we got an update on the landlocked neighbors eventually. A wife on our confession told about how her husband in the middle of the night would smell their son's nappies. Diaper. Last update was they're getting divorced. Creeped me out too much. Never found out why he did it. That young guy from Canada who posted about accidentally stabbing his GF to death out of self-defense, but thought he would go to jail for murder. Said he was on the run but wanted to clear his conscience. No one believed him until it hit the media, which referenced the Reddit post. He was eventually found in America and it was all legit. I think he's currently on trial but not sure. Edit. Here's the story. Canadian man confesses to his girlfriend's murder on Reddit, the independent web page. Edit 2. Just to be clear, I'm not taking the guy's side at all. I was just mentioning what he was conveying in his post, about being innocent. Edit 3. Fell asleep to one comment, so I wasn't expecting to wake up to this. Here are the screen grabs from his original posts saved as images. Imgur webpage. I'm not going to post the page that hosted them, BC. Dear God, it was worse than some 4chan shit. He was arrested by the US Secret Service in San Antonio, Texas in July of last year, through an ongoing counterfeit money investigation. It gets weirder. Some dude posted a confession there about either directly killing his sister's abusive junkie boyfriend and making it look like it was an overdose. I think people called bullshit until somebody actually looked into it, inadvertently exposing the guy through a newspaper article, and I don't know what happened next. He got a visit from the FBI and was mad that people had taken it seriously. I think he didn't even have a sister. There were a few articles about the whole thing in the days after. Edit. I can find the initial articles full of speculation about the guy and his identity, but not the follow-ups. Oh well. Was mad that people had taken it seriously. What the hell did he expect? When you tell a large group of people you killed someone anonymously, people start looking for you and someone's gonna get a lead eventually. This should have been expected. It turned out to be a fake story. With a quick Google search you'll find articles that have his full name listed out. His sister spoke out about it and said he was full of shit. Police investigate Reddit murder confession. ABC News webpage. I can't remember all of the details, but sometime in the last year there was that kid, 17-18 I think, on the front page with the abusive father. The kid found the dad's sex toys and broke the lock on the drawer they were in or something. He was trying to get advice on how to fix lock or open it up before his dad got home. Last I remember the kid said he gave up and was packing his bags before the dad got home and kicked him out. I remember this one. Pretty much confirmed fake. He didn't break the lock. The locking mechanism came out of the lock. Several locksmiths had posted "oh that's an extremely easy fix" and gave 10/10 instructions on how to fix it. Despite all the expert advice he just kept commenting in his thread, you know, as opposed to attempting to fix the lock. Eventually everyone was like, yeah, this kid is full of shit. Yeah, he was basically just karma farming. Every time someone posted an actual guide on how to fix the lock or advice he would reply with "no that won't work" or "I tried it" or "I don't have the time," just endlessly. I don't have the time. It's like in the movies where everything could be resolved if character A just took 10 seconds to explain things to character B, yet they keep saying there's no time to explain. Unsure if I learned about it on Reddit or another website. Anyone remember that small town hotel a guy bought back in like the 70s or 80s and made crawl spaces in the attic to spy on his guests and kept a journal of their sexual activities? I remember reading a real long time or Rolling Stone article about it a few years ago. Why can't we do this thread at 8 AM on a Saturday? I had blissfully forgotten half of these. We'll repost 8 AM Saturday, but with my luck, I will get 2 responses. Your mom and nice repost, arsehole. There was a guy who posted on our what is this thing or something like that. He posted a picture of a piece of metal with dirt and age all over it. A few hours into the thread, where OP was active and replying, he stopped replying. Eventually someone who actually knew something stated that the strange object was an undetonated landmine. OP never returned to use his account. If someone has the link to the thread that would be amazing. Found it. I found this weird object container at a construction site. What is this thing webpage? Says he's alive. This too. What Reddit cliffhanger has still never been resolved? AskReddit webpage. The dude is still alive. Someone tracked down the account through internet sleuthing. I've lost the article but it was confirmed to be him. The guy 3D printed the object right before his annual retiring of his Reddit accounts as a big troll. If I find the article I'll link it. Edit. This landmine internet mystery turned into one of the greatest trolls of all time. Webpage. GB7JPR0HZACF. Found it. It's a mashable summary of the whole thing. The user who figured it out was you electronic dad. Walla took a picture of a bloody staple they coughed up saying it was from a previous surgery. The commentators said that doesn't happen. That person's last message said they were going to the hospital to get checked out after coughing up blood. No response after that. This post, Reddit webpage. Someone in the comments of the post said that a friend of the OP confirmed she passed away. Very scary. Sounds like the staple was likely helping hold together a weak area in her lung from the surgery. Assuming she kept coughing post-staple, probably irritation from attempting to cough up said staple. The pressure likely ruptured an artery based on the bright red blood. Lung arterial bleeds are very bad and you can die very quickly from them. The only survivor I have seen from them was someone who began bleeding while in the hospital. This is just my medical opinion based on the info from the post. Very sad. I dug up the post from her friend and found her obituary in Twitter. Very unfortunate. This particular cancer affects only 1 million. Virginia White obituary, Midland, Texas Legacy.com webpage. Imagine how shitty it must feel to get a terminal disease that is 1 in a million. What horrible luck, and what an awful thing to experience. That is wild. I remember seeing that post without thinking a second thought about the matter. Tragic. One of the top comments. Better inhale it and hope it makes its way back to the right place. So macabre, but she had a good laugh at it before she passed. Life is weird sometimes. Update starting coughing up bright red blood. Husband called 911. Had my first ambulance ride. Don't know WTF is going on, not interested in dying tonight. That's terrifying. It was an AskReddit thread on what is the weirdest thing that has ever happened to you, and someone replied how their phone just suddenly started making noises and a robotic woman's voice read off numbers, weird music, and random names. Someone replied, saying that was a number station that somehow accidentally got broadcasted to his phone and it was possibly dangerous for him to continue to have that phone on him. The Redditor recommended he disassemble the phone, chuck the parts in several different locations, then leave town for a few days because he could possibly be assassinated. I don't know how legit that post was, but it sure creeped me out. When a Redditor found a guy's journal which included schizophrenic drawings about how the pier in my hometown was a spaceship with pumas on it, our alien puma spacetrain came here to Aju Coyote Laughter, who created a great series of sci-fi books here on Reddit called Crotone Earth. Here is his sub, our Coyote Laughter. Dude is a great writer, and got most of the way through his 4th book in the series, then just disappeared. Said that he was having some personal issues. A brother had passed away, and he was facing homelessness. Haven't heard a peep from him in a couple of months. BTW. If you like science fiction, you definitely want to read through the first 3 books of the series. This guy has talent, and I hope that he's doing okay. I'm still here. I just need to solve some life problems before I start posting again. I'm going to try getting back on track by August. Wish me luck. But glad to know you're doing okay. Please feel free to DM if there is anything I can do to help. And good luck. A woman posted audio from a sleep monitoring app where you could hear loud clicking noises and a voice that could be heard asking what are you doing and saying her name. Redditors analyzed the clip and ruled out the possibility of her talking in her sleep. She never figured out what or who made the noise. She wound up moving. The recording still freaks me the fuck out. Here's the Inc. Experience using sleep as Android app. Ghost's webpage. Currently on hour of 3 reading this post. Wonderful stories. Thank you so much to OP for posting this question. I've had to dig myself out to eat, drink, and I think I said goodbye to hubby when he left for work maybe. Great stuff. Reddit. I don't remember when I saw this thread, but it was a detailed post someone made about how, in summary, they had an incredibly abusive father, went to the library to research how to kill him and make it look like an accident, then poisoned his father using resin. Even if fake, was still a good read. Link. It takes a bit of resin to poison someone. It's not as potent as most other poisons, but can still be deadly at the right amount OFC. But from what I gathered, acquiring resin is extremely hard to do. And if you do manage it, possibly you'll get some unexpected visits from the feds, as it's illegal to have resin unlike other more commonly used poisons toxins. Edit. Here's Wikipedia webpage. An interesting read on a man who was murdered with resin. Source: economic botanist professor. Someone once posted that Tommy Wiseau is 2,400 years old and he and Tommy were born in the same village in Eastern Europe. There was a relationship post about a woman believing her husband was spying on her when he would be off on work trips. Cameras Wi-Fi stuff. I read it the day it was posted, and that was over a year ago, and I still think about it and hope she is okay. I don't believe she ever updated. I seem to recall something similar on our Talus from Tech Support. Edit. I'll be damned. That is a GPS tracker. Talus from Tech Support webpage. Arthis Issuman. A sub by a madman who thinks he is the next Elon Musk. More information at our human fan club. I don't remember the subreddit, but I saw a thread where a guy posted a question asking how to dispose of a body in a way where you wouldn't get caught, ostensibly for a novel he was writing. A reply proceeded to thoroughly outline the details of draining the blood, managing odor, dismembering, packing and disposing of a body. They even had details such as clogging the bathtub drain until blood and bleach were mixed 50/50 to prevent the odor of death from permeating from the plumbing. It was very clear they had done this before. Edit. Found the link, Reddit webpage. It was copied from another post on the internet if you read follow-up comments. Here, a friend bought a new house in 2017. When a cable technician went into the crawl space, they found this shrine to Nicolas Cage complete with candles, goblet, kneeling rug and lockbox of movie paraphernalia. Funny webpage. Relatively new. Man finds shrine dedicated to Nick Cage in his house. Comments also contain some weird goings on. Less mysterious and more scary AF. A while back someone posted an AskReddit thread, and while I forget the actual question, a user posted a story about how they were camping with their family and a stranger drove up to them and shot him point blank for no reason. He survived and waited for the would-be killer to drive off. I only remember this because not 2 weeks later, this happened and I was reminded of it. California father's killing at campsite leads to investigations into 7 past shootings. CNN webpage. Edit. Found the AskReddit thread and story. Serious. Survivors of attempted murder. What is your story? AskReddit webpage. One that I wish I could find again was about a guy who was taking a real long solo hike. It was going to last for a couple weeks and take him over a few states in the Southwest. Early in the trip, he met an older couple, 50s, maybe wearing wild clothes. They were friendly, but a bit creepy. So the guy continues his trek, and starts to feel that he's being followed. At one point, he rushes down, across, and back up a small canyon, then hides on the other side and watches. Sure enough, a little while later, he spies the man and woman in white, following behind him and climbing down into the canyon. It was a creepy story, but I forgot a lot of the details and would love to read it again. Edit. Found it. I forgot some details, and it's even creepier than I remembered. Reddit webpage. There was this kid that was writing on Reddit. His parents installed a keylogger so they would see anything he posts. Some smart Redditors had their guard up and realized what was going on. Redditors commented in such a way that the kid could communicate without suspicion. I can't find the thread. Maybe someone else has the link. A bunch of users were added to a private subreddit called Other Count. It has a sticky post of "You are all here for a reason. All will be revealed soon" or something. We were each given a number flare which would change every now and then. From 1 to 10. It was like a year or two ago, so I can't remember whether or not anything was revealed, but I remember the creator had deleted his account along with one other user who somehow became a mod. Reddit webpage. I would be creeped the fuck out if I was one of the people randomly chosen. There was a thread talking about UFOs and the strangest stories people have heard. This one seemed straight out of the Twilight Zone. And I don't know if it's real or not, but the guy who was conveying the story seemed to know a lot particular things that were not, let's say, common knowledge. Basically, the SS Secret Service goes early to cities and lays the groundwork for president-vice president visits. When Obama was in office, he was supposedly flying to X destination. I can't remember where, but the author described certain things. Multiple radar signatures were detected. The Secret Service was in the operations room and they were concerned. These anomalies were detected for a prolonged period of time, able to follow speed and direction, and they had visual confirmation as well. The kid's father was part of the team, but not Secret Service. Anything concerning the security of the president is taken very seriously. It's catalogued, tagged and bagged in a DB. I thought it was a unique post, and informative. It got deleted and disappeared into the ether. I tried searching for it, and could never find it again. There are no public accounts of supposed incident. The Chicago O'Hare famous UFO in airport airspace was also concerning, but the radar tapes were confiscated. There exists no videos, photos that I could find, and voice communications were also conveniently missing. Strange indeed. And the recent NIT UAP video was interesting, but there were key elements missing from the official press release. Interesting time to be alive. A few years ago there was a AskReddit post asking people who had accidentally killed another person what their stories were. One guy told a story from his childhood of him and his friends throwing rocks at the slow neighborhood kid from the top of a tree in the woods behind their homes. Either a rock or a fall killed the slow kid. The other kids ran home and never said anything about it. And meanwhile a coincidental flash flood washed away the slow kid's body. Someone here linked a Wikipedia article regarding a kid who disappeared in Missouri 20 or so years ago under the exact same circumstances. OP then deleted all comments and his account. Wish I had saved that thread. The guys that found a child porn digital upload seed set up inside a shipping container on their property in the middle of nowhere, Australia if I remember right. It had cameras and shit watching them. They bailed, drove off, called the cops and came back to the whole thing being literally on fire. Link for this story, the office in the middle of nowhere. Let's not meet webpage. I've never found the post again, but the guy at a photo developing place who had a really weird customer develop some photos of some seemingly paranormal or extraterrestrial phenomena. Another guy in the comments claims he worked at a similar job in another place and may have run into the same man because he stood out in his memory as one of his strangest customers. They both said the man was wearing a blue hat, and OP said he would set up a sub to discuss further and for anyone who may have encountered the same man to post. I think it was called the Blue Hat Alien or something. Never was able to get a result for the sub or find any follow-up. Might have been bullshit or an attempt to create a creepypasta, but still I wanted to know if it went any further. This thread is possibly one of the most frustrating ever. Mysteries are awesome, but this thread is full of unsolved ones. This isn't so much mysterious as mysterious and sad. On our Hippopeds, there was a mod with regular drug habits. He was a really great commenter and had more knowledge on 90s mid-2000s New York hip-hop than anybody. About 5 months back he disappeared, and eventually, people noticed and started asking. Eventually, we found out he died of a fentanyl odd. Shit sucked. We miss you, Yuakabone. This thread, I think I'm being raided as I type this. Legalab, this webpage was the last thing posted by UAM Benevolence. From their post history it's difficult to tell if it was just an elaborate troll, the product of an unhinged mind, or if she was legit disappeared by the authorities. I doubt it's legit. A caravan of black vehicles with government agents is very noticeable. If a shadowy government organization was going to disappear a US citizen with no trial and who hasn't committed a crime, you're not sending in a convoy of armed agents in broad daylight. This is all assuming that they would do this to someone based on a Reddit post. Also, nobody would log into a Reddit account, type an organized, coherent, and more or less spelling and grammar free post. You'd likely run to as many of your neighbors as possible and talk to them. Finally got my hands on some datura. How much should I take? Drugs webpage. Ufipin Flop reportedly took datura, which is an incredibly powerful plant which acts as a deliriant and poison even in small doses. After claiming to drink and smoke the seeds and leaves, he went dark, leaving a comment in the original thread which said google.com how normal a GameStop now. His last comment was in a gaming thread on a mammoth fighting simulator which read, please these big dogs are fighting now, okay. If he did indeed take datura he would have most likely ended up dead or hospitalized, but there is rumors that it was just a hoax. I hope it was. Blanking on the specifics, but I remember a post talking about different serial killers, mass murders etc, and it was just a whirlwind of spooky. One of them talked about how a guy would bring back women to this storage trailer and inside the walls were covered in torture devices while they sat in a rubbed-in chair. The toy box killer. Quite a crazy guy. Believe it or not, it wasn't just him. His wife would partake in many of the torturing or rape sessions. They would keep these women as long as they were attracted to them, then dose them to hell, and these women ended up forgetting anything that happened to them. A horrifying torture rate they would put women through is bringing them into their house, having some pretty sadistic friends over, and tying down the woman before letting their dogs have sex with the women. They were caught after a woman escaped and reported them. There are some very terrible people out there. Edit. My source for this information was a podcast by the name Last Podcast on the Left. If you're into incredible in-depth and hilarious true crime, paranormal activity, aliens, ghosts, cryptids, etc., urban myths, cults, and other topics similar to these guys have a lot of great content to listen to. I'm not kidding when I say they are in depth, as they have multiple researchers and they spend an incredible amount of time on their episodes. They are available on streaming softwares like Spotify and iTunes. I'm not here to plug them for any other reason than I'm a huge fan and they deserve more fans. The episode they have on the toy box killer goes much deeper into the stories of what this man and his wife would do, and into the stories of their victims. Thanks for editing. You have reached a checkpoint. R.I. Bleach RAWW. Not mysterious. Just want to help out. Thank you. It's 2:30 a.m. I just went down the hole I know where she is rabbit hole. Heard some weird noise outside my front door, and now I'm mega paranoid lol. A few years ago a guy made a post about how he was going to sell his things, empty his savings, and max out his credit cards and put it all in Bitcoin. I think he said he had a wife and kids. Everyone commenting was telling him not to do it. He said he would report back eventually, but I never saw it if he did. I've always been curious about that one. This mysterious troll account commenting numbers hyperlinked a distorted picture on various posts, RBI webpage. Weird user who's either a troll or a second Zodiac killer. I have no idea if anyone contacted the police or tried to solve it by themselves like idiots. Could very probably be a prank, but we never know. Edit. Someone PM'd me. They reported them to the FBI. Edit. Updates provided by UL Andrew. Here is the girl's YouTube channel. YouTube webpage, which could also be pre-recorded and stolen. The banner is kinda sketchy and there's only a few videos, so could be not a real channel. And a creepy one. YouTube webpage, leading us that she's not the US like some thought. And a list of solved clues. Pastor Bin webpage. I don't have the link and I'm on mobile, but there was a post from this guy who was in a college dorm and was digging around in the drop ceiling of his room for some reason. Maybe to hide a Wi-Fi router because they were banned, and he found this old super secure computer and I think he took it to the head of it at his school who said they didn't know what it was but he could keep it. The dude was trying to break into it and was asking for help from Reddit. He said he was going to run to the store to buy a thumb drive or something, but as far as I know he never updated the post. It seemed legit too since he posted pics of the thing and was asking good questions about how to get around different things that he would have come across in trying to access this PC. It wasn't even its own post, but a comment to another post. The comment was about how there's some mysterious shit going down in Americas and the Philippines $national parks and forests, state parks, and campgrounds, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, etc. It was about how people have been going missing without a trace for many years. Apparently, there's hardly any information about the disappearances available except what the families say, and officials basically sweep them under the rug. Does anyone remember the guy who followed the man who asked him to come to a ransom location on Google Maps? He went in, took photos and sent them into the comment thread. Heard someone behind him and that was it. Probably not real but spooked me back in the day. Curious to know if anyone followed up. Dead animals or something. His name was Alex, I think. That was a post on 4chan. What happened is somebody posted Google Maps coordinates and said that there was a reward there. The guy who went there found a hard drive and a paper plate. But the paper plate basically said that someone was coming for him. He hears someone, presumably OP, drive up, realizes there is only one exit. He was never heard from again. There were some inconsistencies within the whole thing, leading many, including myself, to believe it's fake. Still creepy though. It's 4chan. Everything's anonymous. Never heard from again is kind of an unsafe assumption. He could easily be posting green texts to be reposted on r/4chan today. The guy from the future warning us all about Bitcoin. Reddit. Bitcoin. I am a time traveler from the future, here to beg you to stop what you are doing. Webpage. Ages ago, there was a fella who asked Reddit how to smuggle LSD into Thailand for personal use. He posted numerous threads documenting his adventures in Thailand, a couple of them being trip reports, that is his experiences while under the influence of LSD. Eventually, some unfortunate decision making led to his arrest before he could board his flight back home. He was locked up in a jail in Bangkok, but was allowed to use his phone and Wi-Fi. He mentioned that the guards were selling drugs for a steal, and he continued to get high while locked up. Many users advised him to delete his account and any evidence of him possessing or using drugs while he could. Many users advised that they may have given him the privilege of using a phone and Wi-Fi to get him to incriminate himself even further. However, it seemed like all of the advice given was in vain. Too late. We stopped receiving any response from him. Many of us following his story assume that he was taken to prison and won't be out for many years. I can't seem to find the threads anymore, nor do I remember his username. Hope he's alright though. There was a story. A group of perverts are targeting kids on Novelep webpage. In our Novelep that referred to Elsagat, a child abuse conspiracy theory that's active here on Reddit. Went down that rabbit hole one day. There are a lot of twists, especially if you start from a Novelep story. I was so confused. There are numerous videos posted on YouTube exactly like the story describes. The themes are always fucked up too. The one I remember was Elsa Spider-Man sick. Elsa, portrayed by a pretty blonde woman, is binging on chocolates which makes her look like she's eating shit. She then gets sick, which entails her becoming very pregnant. Dr. Spider-Man shows up, wearing scrubs which appear to have feces smeared on them, and gives her a checkup. He then chases her around with a huge needle, catches and injects her, then her sickness, pregnancy, disappears. In the background of the video, strange aggressive music is played in a language I can't identify. This video is hidden amongst other more normal videos, and the comment section is made up of cryptic messages. Here is the video Elsa Spider-Man sick. Yowta webpage. Some ordinary gamats. One YouTuber who called out these videos helped get some of them removed just by talking about them. Wait, so let me get this straight. Elsagat is definitely real, and this Novelep story is a fictional story based on the Elsagat thing, yes? The Elsagat thing has definitely gotten better since YouTube crackdown, but it was real fucking weird at its peak. YouTube was flooded with crazy inappropriate videos very deliberately targeted at children. Also, kind of sort of related, there are a number of videos on YT of kids doing kid stuff, cartwheels, playing around, whatever, with strange combinations of numbers and letters as video titles. Some of the comments on those vids are realistic, but some are also strange combos of letters and numbers. The wildest theory I heard was that it was some code used by human traffickers or child porn networks. It's a real rabbit hole. I stumbled across a Toy Freaks video on FB after it got shared in a group I'm in. The video itself was weird AF, with these kids who were way too old to be using pacifiers. Well, using pacifiers and getting into bathtubs in their pajamas, and there was humiliation and stuff. Nothing outright sexual, but a whole lot of weird and icky. What made it all the sketchier was the title. It reminded me of the sort of titles you see on porn videos, where it's nonsense altogether but more like a bunch of keywords to increase the number of clicks. Super messed up. YouTube was flooded with crazy inappropriate videos very deliberately targeted at children. It still is. I try to report everything I come across. The story of Jamisi and the Black Mercedes with Utopia Plate in the SF Bay Area, who originally approached OP 10 years prior in Tybee, Georgia. Jamisi had strange features and spoke like he knew OP, and said that in 10 years he will kill OP with a black Benz with the license plate Utopia. What really intrigues me is that some Redditors looked up the license plate and saw it got new tires not too long before, in the SF Bay Area. So, what happened since? I must know. Edit. Here is the post. No updates though. What happened to the story of Jamisi and the Black Mercedes? Out of the Loop webpage. This post led to a very weird imgur of a 4chan post TOMT. The story from 4chan where someone posts coordinates to a cave and someone goes to check it out and discovers that the cave is lair that the guy has been living in. Top of Metong webpage. The mysterious case of Alex from TN still freaks me out to this day. Very weird and graphic warning. TL. Dr. Annan posts creepy pictures asking for people to visit his lair. Posts pictures of mummified preserved human hand. Starts telling everybody to hurry and come to his lair. User eventually goes to his lair, which is a cave in the ground. Finds tortured animals. Mummified animal remains. Mummified human pelvis. Hard drive for a computer. Finds a paper plate saying that Annan lied and that the date was important. User hears Annan entering the lair, tries to exit the lair through a second exit. Posts stop there. The fact that we hear about him hearing someone entering gives it away. If you heard someone entering, you would prepare to fight or run. Not post about it to Reddit. I'm gonna call bullshit. There's a link to the specific location. If someone truly went missing 2+ years ago there, then there would at least be a news article of the police searching that area. I honestly figured. Besides, who in their right mind would enter a dimly lit cave and not nope the fuck out of there once they found human body parts and dead animals? I mean, come on. That one's pretty hard to believe. The way the guy nonchalantly posted his uncovering of the site. Like fuck off, the guy that lured him there could be violent, most likely, and he didn't even go in prepared at all, or cautiously, and by his fucking self as well. I'm skeptical. About a year ago a user on RA said narcissists was posting about how her parents were forcing her to marry an abusive neo-Nazi she referred to as Creeper. The sub was very concerned for her and supportive of her, and she posted very frequently for a time. Then another account started posting and supposedly it was Creeper who found her on Reddit somehow. Her account disappeared after this happened. Here is the post the mods put up about the entire drama. Regarding you throw away help 5462. Read please before posting mod mailing. Ray said narcissist's webpage. I personally think the entire thing was a long con put on by a troll. Her tone seemed suspicious to me, as did the fact that she was always asking for help but always had a reason she couldn't accept the advice folks were giving her. Also there was another account that I suspect she created that kept offering to start a GoFundMe for her, even though it's not allowed by the sub. This account only ever commented on her posts. Regardless of if it was a real person or not, it's always stuck with me and I wonder if she was real, and B, if she was real, whatever happened to her. Somebody posted on our transplant he stopped taking his meds after his heart transplant because they made him dizzy and tired. I messaged him 1 month later, asked how he's doing and got no answer so far. He also hasn't posted anything ever since. There once was a guy on here that had a wonderful bestie and they would cuddle occasionally. The guy realized he had feelings for his friend that were not platonic. He was gonna tell the guy. I was wondering how that turned out. I know where she is, some mug or actual kidnapping murder. I know where she is, Ashvlogs, pastorban.com webpage. For solved clues from Rainbow Unicorn I believe. If you're just looking for something not so creepy I'd recommend you my Puma Smell Funky posts on our What Fiction. They're fascinatingly worth a read. Around spring of 2013. A girl posted to our relationships about her mother had gotten a boyfriend in his 20s or something. The boyfriend was predatory towards the teenage OP. He would go to her volleyball games and only record her butt. He would make sexually inappropriate comments to her, and this swipe even got her a dildo that was cast in the shape of his own penis. Eventually she was able to live with her bio dad in another state, but she became extremely depressed because she had no friends, knew no one, and lost any type of relay with her mother. The mother was encouraging her boyfriend. This wasn't on Reddit but on Travel Stack Exchange, USA. How to intentionally get denied entry to the US without getting into trouble. Travel Stack Exchange webpage. But I think a chat was created on Reddit for it. A woman from Pakistan was living in Spain and her family was trying to force her to come to the USA to live with her husband. Seemed to be an arranged marriage, and she didn't want to because she was scared he would make her overstay her visa, like he did, and prevent her from returning to Spain. Being from a Pakistani family, she was very restricted. She couldn't say no or run away for fear of honor killing lol, as she put it, or endangering her mum and sister. Her plan was to either get stopped at the airport by putting a spoon on her person or something, or getting her visa denied in a way that wouldn't look suspicious to her family. But people advised she talk to the US Embassy or go for women in similar situations. She never said what she was actually gonna do. Her last comment was, "I will update you guys for sure. I'm still in Spain. I will let you know. Thank you so much," which was like a year and a half ago. She's been inactive on the site since. I hope everything went alright. There was one ages ago where someone found a 2.5-inch hard drive sewn into laptop bag, minus the PCB. It was passed around a few times for data recovery but I believe nothing came of it. The one in March where the guy's GF got a voicemail with quasi-NATO alphabet code saying SOS and they're not human. That sent me down a deep rabbit hole and genuinely creeped me out a bit. Not political. The Twitter voicemail story, mega thread, conspiracy webpage. I can't remember what thread it was in, but I saw a long, detailed comment about some guy who had a friend all throughout kindergarten, but then it turned out to be a hallucination. It ended with something like his babysitter walked away for a few minutes and the friend appeared in front of the TV saying "I am your son" or something like that. The legitimacy is extremely questionable, but it's just one of those things I read years ago and haven't been able to find since. I remember a story where a guy was driving somewhere. On the way, he was robbed by a thief. The thief stole his car and wallet. The guy somehow managed to reach home after a couple of days and realized his family was having his funeral. Everyone was shocked to see him as they thought the dead body lying there was him. Turns out, the thief who stole his car and wallet had an accident and crashed with an oil tanker and died in the blast. His body was fully burned and was unidentifiable. The family recognized the body by checking the identity and the wallet. I was referred to rJustNimal for advice and I went and looked at the sub. One post was about a woman who had been poisoned by her mother-in-law. I thought, nope, I don't belong here. I can't remember all of the specific details as I had my own shitstorm happening, but it went something like she started getting real sick after eating at her in-laws. She didn't have any allergies and nobody else got food poisoning, so she couldn't figure out what was happening. She collected a food sample and had it tested, but there was no trace of poison. The next time they ate at the in-laws' house, she switched her water glass with her less than supportive husband just to see what happened. Mother-in-law saw and made a big deal about it. Husband switched the glasses back and scolded OP. She said she was going to try to collect a water sample to get that tested for poison. The post was deleted and as far as I know she hasn't posted since. Remember a few months ago when that guy took a picture with a random woman who looked very scared and then someone looked and saw he frequently posted in a very gross necro community on here. He got weird in replies after that, was addressed and dipped. Think the post was locked after. Never saw a follow-up. That was a creepy night on here though. Edit. Found a link. My mom is always asking for pictures of me. One Craigslist ad seeking a pregnant woman and $50 later. This is what I sent her. Funny web page. Although a lot seems to be removed, still a decent amount to look through. Super creepy. Edit 2. Okay, I realize she looks fine and he's purposefully looking uncomfortable. I hadn't seen the picture since it was initially posted, so I had it backwards in my head until I just saw it again. And the dude still uses the account and seems to have cleared his name of any creepy shit. But still, for anyone else who watched it all unfold on that post when it happened, it was a real creepy time. OMG, yeah, he got some lady off Craigslist to pose with him in photos supposedly so his mom would stop bugging him about having a GF, I think. Yeah, he posted some nasty shit on here about necro. I usually feel pretty protected by the anonymity of Reddit, but right now I feel like some creep could jump at me through the screen. Here's an archive of the post. Archive web page. She doesn't look scared at all. Him on the other hand. Enters thread at 2 AM, has not left thread at 4 AM, whereabouts of sanity unknown. I haven't looked too hard, but I know there was a YouTube channel that would just upload strange videos with different noises and electronic type images, like pixels and stuff. I forget the name of the channel, so if anybody knows the name or if there are any explanations to it, I would appreciate it. I believe this was later confirmed by YouTube to be a test channel for real technical things on their end. The channel name was Redditor, and I remember reading somewhere that the account was being run by Google. A year ago, perhaps more, there was a guy with a username comprised of random symbols who would just type garbled nonsense in the comments of AskReddit posts. Obviously they were codes, probably to some kind of ARG. You'd see this guy everywhere. It was hard to miss him. The difference was that, unlike users like A858, he didn't catch on at all. He'd reply to high-ranking posts. They were hard to miss, but they weren't doing well. Downvotes galore. Posts pushed to the bottom as a result, and eventually we just stopped seeing them. I know it's probably nothing important, but I'm curious what would have come out of it had it been solved. I'm not sure where it was, maybe AskReddit, but someone was asking about some hypothetical teeth that they had sorted by type and kept in jars. There were pictures that said jars. They eventually edited it where they said they were visited by the police because of the ominous nature of their post. I remember laughing my ass off because of the repetition of that goddamn hypothetically, and then I saw the photos. If anyone could find the post, I'd really appreciate it. There was a guy who remarked about being in a car accident and everyone seemed to be ignoring him. Someone surmised he was dead, a ghost. He never posted after that. This post, ghost at Point du Hoc in Normandy. Put brightness high as possible story in comments. Ghosts webpage. Most of the shit on our ghosts is instantly shot down as a bug, dust, or just false. This one got me. I am really not sure. It's 11:30 PM right now where I'm at, so I'm gonna look at this in the morning. I don't see it. All I see is some vague blurry movement. Also, the video resolution is comically low. That's like 99.96% of our ghosts, but blurrier, and more comically low quality. The Eustonatier saga was and still is incredibly mysterious. Several years ago, this guy asked for help in irretrievably deleting a very VIP individual's computer files and specifically any emails stored on it, during the 2016 election. Folks from our conspiracy and subsequently our technology did some digging and found very convincing. but very technical like. Evidence that this guy was Hillary Clinton's top-ed consultant, and that in all probability his posts on Reddit asking for help deleting something were directly related to the now notorious missing emails from Clinton's time as Secretary of State. Hillary Clinton's guy asked Reddit for help altering emails, a Twitter sleuth claims. The Washington Post webpage. Non-paywalled Washington Post article. Reddit sleuths claim user crowdsourced advice to delete Clinton email evidence webpage. What made this even more mysterious at the time was that Houstonatier began to delete all of their old Reddit posts shortly after the initial articles claiming a Clinton link, so that people ended up being able to actually watch and screenshot in real time as the account was deleted post by post. That, in many people's minds, added enormous weight to the claims being made, but ultimately we'll probably never know one way or another. Okay, I saw comments in a thread about a month ago from someone who was clearly having a break from reality, usually posted normal stuff but for the past week had been posting in all caps and just saying a bunch of like keywords and short phrases that made no sense put in sequence. People were commenting in response talking about how he seemed to be having a psychotic episode. I remember a comment saying if you understand this, please call for help. Anyone else see that or have links? Your doorbell detected a visitor. Got a notification from my smart home app in the middle of the night saying your doorbell detected a visitor : creepy webpage. That link is staying blue. That's the black and white image of a man in a smiling mask, isn't it? That's a smiling mask. Looks like a girl with a lot of makeup on to me. It's black man wearing a realistic mask of a girl. Extremely unnerving. Even more so because this person does it multiple times at like 3 in the morning. Warning. Don't open it if you are about to sleep or if you're in a dark place. The site opens up to a very creepy image. That picture sent a jolt of terror through my entire body. I feel like I just shit myself from every pore. I clicked on it and realized too late that it was that creepy guy I've seen before and want to push out of my mind. This is posted in every thread like this, and for some reason I open the link every time. Haha. The guy who was finding post-it notes all over his apartment and had no idea who was writing them, but thought his landlord was stalking him, and it turned out that it was him and he had a CO leak. Here, MA. Post-it notes left in apartment. Legal at this webpage is the original thread, and here, update. MA. Post-it notes left in apartment. Legal at this webpage is the updated post. There was also a podcast recently that spawned from this page not found endless thread webpage. RLCQP early days of Reddit, the Lake City acquired pills subreddit. IDK, it's weird and I'm ignorant and don't know how to link directly. Worth looking into though. This is a classic. Cicada 3301 was the most complex and mysterious puzzle which had no answer. There was one a while ago about a guy finding old transcripts and documents in the basement of an old prison he worked for, and he kept finding super spooky references to the man with yellow eyes or something like that. It may have been on Nodalab, but it linked to an actual audio recording of an execution with a clear, deep voice unrecognized on the transcript and too close to the microphone asking, "Are you ready to die now?" in just about the creepiest way you could imagine. He posted updates for a while, then nothing. What is this thing post about the unidentifiable silly band shape? Basically Area 51 level mystery. That guy who kept posting updates about creepy and homicidal things that kept happening to him. Eventually, the posts stopped and Reddit never knew the mystery. Not mysterious per se, but the situation was extremely mysterious. Over at our Let's Not Meet Some user posted a story of a dude he came across while walking at night. The particular thing about this dude is that he was erratically dancing, and at some point he started sprinting towards the OP. In the middle of the night. With a big fucking smile from ear to ear. Not so mysterious. But creepy and a damn good read. Stairs in the Woods. Stories Masterlist. Stairs and Woods webpage. I remember this. Found it super fascinating and kinda got addicted to looking for more. If you enjoyed the Stairs in the Woods story, check out the Spire in the Woods. Not a LEP webpage. I feel like I recall that when I first found this story, there were some theories, suspicions that the author was actually a famous writer working under a pseudonym. Stephen King, I think. Either way, it's really good. I have reread these so many times. It's not just the stories themselves, it's also the writing style that really draws you in. In my adult life I've not been into non-fiction or spent time reading any of the posts on our Not-a-Lep, but this was recommended in a thread and it really piqued my interest in them. If you haven't read them yet, I highly recommend giving it a chance. Edit. I meant fiction, not non-fiction. RF04CB41F154DB2F05A4A. It was a sub with very elaborate code posts done by one guy. People have deciphered some of the codes with random things that made no sense, until finally the last code came out saying experiment concluded. One dude on our drugs a few days ago had a bad trip on salvia and said he had never had such a sense of pure abject fucking terror. Comments were a little freaky too. Jesus fucking Christ, don't do salvia. Drugs webpage. Whatever happened to that post about the guy who said he was having gay sex with a super conservative senator? Reading this at 1 AM is probably gonna scare me for life, tbh, cause it for sure is scaring me rn. Probably just a coincidence. But this Whistler story, serious? What is the creepiest thing that has AskReddit webpage? Is pretty freaky. The video evidence also adds a bit of extra mystery to it. I kid you not. When I saw the video, an hour or later when it was approaching evening, I heard the whistling. I'm 99% sure it was probably just my mind playing tricks on me, but it freaked me out. I think it was a comment on a post about something to do with birthdays, I think. Like strangest or crappiest gifts or something. Some kid commented about how he and his friends would give each other b-day blowjobs. They had him believe that if it was a birthday it wasn't gay or something like that. Not sure if it was real, doubtful. Although he commented a few times seeming like he truly believed this. Then he vanished. Definitely a WTF. Edit. Here is the link. Males of Redditor give birth to blowjobs to their best friends as a gift. When did you start this tradition and how did you find about it and what happened? AskReddit webpage. Yeah, definitely a April Fool's troll job. Credit to you Ashinsha for finding the link. I'm halfway across the country because I found someone that would murder me by cutting off my cock. But they would have mutilated my corpse unwillingly and eaten me, so I opted out. The above is last post of you worthless 319. The guy who shot off his own dick with a revolver and ate it. Because God told him to. This backstory is NSFL for sure, so continue at your own risk. Guy keeps making posts on Reddit about the most painless way to castrate himself. Reddit webpage. People understandably ask why. He tells them it's no big deal. He's done it before. People ask for him to prove it. He posts multiple pictures of what's left of the bloody stump of his penis. Holy fuck, I do not want to link to those pictures. You can find them. by looking into his comment history, but be warned, NSFW, NSFL, and God help you. People are now, understandably, shocked. They once again ask him why. He tells them that God told him that he was the Messiah, and that the only way to save the world is for him to voluntarily castrate himself. Reddit webpage. And he just ate it because. Reddit. How do you find hope? AskReddit webpage. Even though he had already done it once in the past, he feels as if he must have not done it correctly because it didn't seem to save the world, because Trump got elected. How to proceed when you only seem to fail. Awakened webpage. BTW. He claims that he's been to many psychologists and professionals and that they can find nothing wrong with him. According to him, I'm looking for a drug to depersonalize myself. Drugs webpage. So, he shot the remainder of his penis off, reducing it to an even smaller bloody stump. There were apparently pictures. I was never brave enough to look at them. And he cooked and ate the part he successfully shot off. What are some ways I could sever the stump of my penis? Morbid Questions webpage. After getting back from the hospital after that one, he claims that God told him that he must die in order to save the world this time. But he can't kill himself. He was trying to find someone to kill him. But the person he found who was willing to do it wanted to eat his corpse afterwards. And he said that God was not okay with that. Anyone else have a no life after death experience? Morbid Questions webpage. Last few posts he made on this site were about how he was going to see a friend from across the country that was willing to kill him. What happened to the guy that was supposed to cut his dick off yesterday, Saturday? Morbid Questions webpage. Then his account went silent. Edit. Updated with links for proof. No picture links though, because not even I can bring myself to do that. Does anyone remember the story where a kid bet his mate all his summer savings that he wouldn't spend a night in the woods high on acid? Kid ended up going crazy and stabbing his eyes out. Not sure if it's been posted, but the guy asking for legal advice because his landlord kept breaking into his apartment and leaving bizarre sticky notes on his mirror. Turns out it was the OP leaving the notes with no memory of doing so due to a CO leak in his apartment. The uninstall button. The game is great and all that, but god it is hard to fully remove all the junk it leaves behind on your system. You really need to check out that mod when the time comes to get rid of it. Otherwise, I think Ascuro's Oblivion overhaul is a nice start. There was one maybe 2 years ago about some guy who posted pics of his parents' bird or some shit and had his screen door open in the background. Since it was dark out you couldn't really see anything until someone noticed what looked like a face eye. Think there were a couple updates after that of security footage or some shaky phone camera footage and it looked like a guy with a ski mask in the corner of the dark room he walked through. Don't remember the rest, but now I want to find it and see if he got murdered or not. Here it is. Reddit webpage. I am aware novel is fiction. I couldn't remember which sub I read it on at the time and then just posted the link anyway for people who wanted to read. Our novel is well-written fiction. The rules of the sub require everyone to act like it's real. Well-written. My ex-wife's dead cat has been posting messages to me on LiveJournal and LiveJournal doesn't even exist now. Part 68. The OP just posted 14 days ago in a sub. So unless it's the scary person in the pics I would venture a guess that OP is a-okay. The Flesh Interface series is pretty interesting, like a weird Lovecraftian story gathered from a collection of comment posts throughout Reddit. Nobody really know who created it. Vice did an article on it. Goddamn. I am always so intrigued by this stuff that I don't care that it's 2 AM and I hear whiz. Even if it is fake. This, my dead girlfriend keeps messaging me on Facebook. I've got the screenshots. I don't know what to do. Not a lep webpage. Post about a guy's dead girlfriend continuing to be tagged in photos and receiving messages made up of pieces of previous messages from her always had me intrigued. It's not a lep, so it's fake, right? Always thought those were just made up stories. Yes, all of our novelep is creative writing. So some are really good and almost believable and others are terrible. I did a Slundam in memes. But the rule of the sub is that you're supposed to read it while suspending disbelief so you can get more into it and have more fun. Bit late to this, but how about the guy who uploaded around 5-10 videos of surveillance footage on YouTube about a suspicious van PPL things that kept coming around his house? The videos excelled in suspiciousness. In the descriptions of the videos he would go on to describe things. He talked about how he was causing his city a lot of legal trouble because he had exposed something and they were getting sick of him. He ends up predicting his own death by the final video. His house was lit on fire and he had been stabbed multiple times. It's a real story. Hopefully someone can find it. Hold it right there. RAWWRI bleach. If you made it this far into the thread, you'll need it. Trust me. Have a nice day. And a guy that posted what was some weird object in his workplace ended up being a live missile. Edit. Seems I mixed two posts into one. I think both had to do with our artist this thing. Edit 4. So I got a lot of details wrong. Just ignore what I wrote below and read this. Number 81 plus 1353 359. Me. 25F. With my boyfriend. 30M of 5 years. I am very sure that he's lying to me about his real name. Our relationships. New delete web page. It's a post from several years ago from our relationships about a girl who thought her boyfriend had another identity. She gave one update with more details and said she was going to confront him and give us a final update. She never did. There was a girl on our relationships who posted about how she thought her boyfriend had another life, and she wanted advice on what she should do. She had several examples, but the one I remember is they were out together one day when someone came up to her BF and said, "Hey, Harry, long time no see," or something to that effect. She knew him by a different name. Harry quickly looked away and told him he must have mistaken him for someone else and hurried him and his girlfriend, the one telling the story, away from the man. The man said something like, "No, it's me, so and so from blank," ran up to the man and spoke with him privately. The girl said the way her boyfriend reacted to this man was incredibly suspicious. She said her BF told her later that he had never seen that man before, and he had never been to blank. Dang, I wish I could remember the details. This was several years ago, but there were gaps in his life that made this all plausible. He took a year off from school, traveled a lot, etc. They ran into other people who called him Harry not that same day. I mean, everyone in the thread was like, WTF, this guy is not who he says he is. Like I said, there were other examples. She said she'd ask him about little things she noticed here and there but never outright told him her suspicions, and he'd immediately shut her down. She posted an update with more examples and said she was going to give us an update later. She never did. Edits 1 and 2. I tried to link the thread and failed. Edit 3. I think I fixed the link this time. Sorry, I'm on mobile and the post is archived. Let me know if this. Number 81 plus 1353 359. Me. 25F. With my boyfriend. 30M of 5 years. I am very sure that he's lying to me about his real name. Our relationships. New delete web page. Doesn't work. I knew I was off by a few details, but I somehow remembered the name Harry. Edit 5. Good frickin' lord, formatting on mobile is hard. There was this front page thread from Tifu yesterday, where this married couple bought a house that turned out not having a connected sewer line, which he discovered by crawling through literal shit in the crawl space while investigating. Top comment was deleted at this point, but quoted. Some chick saying she got wrecked by two guys. Never again. And everyone wanted an explanation for WTF she thought she was responding to. Best Reddit mystery hands down. Read one a few nights ago about a guy who as a kid had an accident that rendered his arms useless for a while. As a result, his mom offered to help him masturbate, which led to him and his mom having a sexual relationship until he was in his early 20s. He had answered thousands of questions about the whole ordeal within 2 days or so, and there were still thousands pouring in. OP didn't think it was that big of a deal. Most everyone else, however, not so much. I believe it was on our Confuse webinar or something that I stumbled, and I mean really stumbled across. Fucked me up for a couple hours after that. Like a train wreck, you know. Can't look away, but you really don't wanna watch. This is a crazy one, but I gotta tell ya that sexual abuse is so much more common than people think. I learned this while working in education. Sadly, to help visualize it, in any class of 25 kids at any age level, really, at least a couple of them are being victimized, maybe a little more, and in so many more ways than people might think. It's heartbreaking. You have reached another checkpoint. RORI bleach. Have a nice day. I never made a post about it, but should. Every couple of months for the last year-ish or so I have found slips of paper in my backpack, in my car, or most alarmingly after I went to freaking China for a study abroad. All of them simply read inspected by number 9. Written in pencil. Either I have some fucked up kind of sleepwalking, or I'm being tracked by probably India's equivalent of the FBI, because they are the only bureaucracy incompetent enough to leave that stuff behind. Edit for clarification. I found the latest slip in my apartment in China. I previously was in Wisconsin when I would find them. Edit 2. Learned how to spell incompetent. The one about the guy who works on a huge farm out in the middle of Australia and find a shipping crate in the middle of the desolate farmland stocked full of child pornography. Goes and get the police, but when he gets back it's in ruins. Still haunts me. No link, thoughts, sorry dudes. That one thread about the search and rescue guy and all his stories. Especially the ones about the stairs in the middle of nowhere. Read that shit on the train at 5 AM. Never again. Anyone remember Cicada? Or just me? I didn't have an account yet but followed that shit closely. It was crazy for those couple years. I remember one about a guy who shot his dick off with a revolver and ate it. Posted pics as evidence too. Said he was doing God's work. IDK. I hereby dictate this comment thread a safe place where we can huddle up and feel safe in numbers from the creep crawlies that these posts are giving us. There's a checkpoint somewhere further up. It's got an RI bleach link. The creepiest post I've seen was about a guy who was reading comments about mysterious Reddit posts when he disappeared, mate. It's amazing how you managed to press the submit button before you did. The weird post about the Salt Lake City daycare. All the info from the original post has been deleted. What's the deal with this place? Lived across the street from it for 5 years. Never seen a kid there. Salt Lake City webpage. This post still has some info in it. SLC creepy daycare saga. Conspiracy webpage. Not mysterious at all, but I've been browsing this thread for 2+ HRS now, deeply immersing myself in the long forgotten novelette stories of yore. Decided to light some trees only for my SO to say babe, at full awake voice volume and make my heart nearly explode out of my chest. Lighting the lighter woke him up, I guess. Doesn't matter, I'm neck deep in the completely wrong thread for that kinda shit. How has no one mentioned that guy taking videos of his birds and you can see a guy in his backyard staring at him through his glass doors late at night? 3S5M. I'm gonna go destroy my retinas by browsing every pic uploaded to RD to calm down. Reminds me of when a guy posted on Ask Science about how the disease Stephen Hawking had usually kills in 4 years, so was asking how he was still alive. Like 30 minutes later the news came out he passed away. Stumbled upon this once. What was one of the most mysterious posts found on Reddit, AskReddit webpage. I was entirely expecting to be rickrolled, so I guess this was pleasant surprise. This canon shit is really disturbing. He's some dude from 4chan, not some god people.